First of all, I'm Karen Feibusch. I live in Modi'in. I'm originally from London. I am, by profession, a fitness coach. I did a course to be a health coach and a fitness trainer in Wingate Institute about 12 or 13 years ago now. And I've been in the fitness industry since then, mainly training. And then when we came through COVID, I felt that either it was COVID or it was menopause that was making me change my attitude and feel differently. And I didn't know where this was coming from. And once I decided it was menopause, I started to look into it and I found it fascinating, and I've been hooked since then. So I'm very excited to share my knowledge with you. These are some of what you see on the screen. Just to finish off about me, I train in a studio at home, a small studio, and I train menopausal women only, ranging from the ages of 45, coming up to 45 to 65. And everybody has their issues. One of the things, and we'll talk about sleep during this presentation, but one of the things I ask my women when they come, and every time they come, is, how did you sleep last night? And depending on how they sleep, I can completely change the workout. So we'll talk about the importance of sleep and the reason why, if we are not sleeping, then we have to change the way that we exercise, or we have to pull back from exercise completely, and first fix our sleep. And that we'll get to. I don't want to jump the gun too much, but my studies and the knowledge that I now have about menopause has greatly affected the way that I train. And that's why I'm zeroing in on menopausal aged women, because I feel that I can give them the most of my expertise, as opposed to a much younger trainer who isn't there yet herself and doesn't really know why the people she's training can't do the squats and can't lift the weights that they used to be able to. So that's me in a nutshell. I'm a mother of 4, and I'm a mother-in-law of 1. So thank God that's about me. We'll start about the symptoms. So people often associate menopause only with hot flashes or mood swings, we spoke about. But there are so many other things that that are associated to it, and there are many things that are not listed here. But I think there are 70 plus menopausal symptoms, which means that it covers every organ and every joint and every process in our bodies. And there is nothing that is left out, which is unbelievable, because, in our heads, emotionally, many of us still feel very young. You ask me how old I am, I'll say 35, because I really, in my energy is young, but my body is 53. What can I say? That's my body, and I decided to accept it and find out about it and find out how to live my best, healthiest life at this age. So if we look at all of these, I'll say again one more thing before I really delve into the clips, into the slides, and that is that I am not talking during this presentation at all about hormone replacement therapy. I leave that to the doctors and the medical community. They are the specialists. I am a lifestyle coach. I am not a medical person. And so I will not give any information about something which I have not studied to the depth that it needs to be studied about. Okay, so we're talking about lifestyle here during these menopausal years. Any questions that you have, please write them down and ask me at the end of the presentation. I'll be happy to answer them.
Or otherwise, you can put them straight away in the chat, and we'll go back into the chat afterwards and go through all the questions.
Right. So I won't respond to them during. I'll just through the presentation, and then at the end we'll talk about everything else, everything you have questions about, and some of your answers might be answered during the presentation. Okay, so if you just look around, I'm not going to read them all. That's the point of the presentation, is that you can read them yourselves, but it does give us an idea of how strong menopause is and how much our bodies are affected by the hormonal change. And when I say the hormonal change, I mean the drop in estrogen and progesterone, which are our sex hormones, and how it affects absolutely everything. If we think about, our hormones, I'll get to this clip in a minute, but if we think about our hormones, then we can see that they are all attached to each other. So it's like a house of cards, that if there is a change in even one of the hormones, and I can talk about estrogen and progesterone, but I'm also talking about testosterone or cortisol or any of the other hormones. If one of them is not being released at the time of day that it needs to be released, and the amount of hormonal fluid or matter is not enough, the right amount, then our entire system is thrown off course. So it's a very, very sensitive system, and the reason that we don't feel it before our menopause or before perimenopause really is because we haven't had that kind of very acute change or very acute drop in hormone when one of our hormones just completely almost disappears. So that affects everything in a very, very strong way, and that's why there's all of this response to the drop in estrogen. If we look at this clip, we'll see what we start feeling when we're in perimenopause. So it starts with having no energy. When we're 40, 45, when we blame it on the kids still being home, and, we're not sleeping, and then we have mood swings, but it's because our jobs are very demanding, or we're very busy, and, and then we start maybe to feel hot. Maybe some people do, some people don't, and we have sore lower backs or backs, and then we realize that it might just be because because we picked something up that we shouldn't have, but we never used to have a problem with that. So why have we suddenly got a problem? We don't really put it down to menopause. We're all still only 40. We're not there yet. So, but it's important to pay attention to those symptoms because they do become more relevant as we get older. Then they lead to when we're in our 50s. The perimenopause is leading up to the 50s, and the average age of menopause in the Western world is 51. Again, some women are beforehand, some women are a few years later, but it's the average age is 51. So if that's the case, then we're getting to our late 40s, we're hitting 50, 51. These are the symptoms that we're seeing. We're seeing in our blood tests, we're seeing that we have some kind of thyroid, our thyroids are playing up, the numbers are going up and down, hypo and hyperthyroid, which is hormone controlled, which controls the hormones, sorry, and the adrenal glands and the gut. Somebody asked before about gut health, so we'll be talking about that as well. And mood swings. And we're like, what's going on? I never used to be so quick-tempered. What's happening? Why haven't I got the patience for these people when I used to have all the time in the world for them? The other thing is poor liver function, that we see also symptoms like fatty liver or alcoholic fatty liver, which the liver, or everything that we eat goes through the liver. And if it's not turning over the food properly and just sending it out again into the blood, then we will be moody, we will have gut issues, our thyroid and our hormones will be effective. Estrogen overload we're going to talk about later. That's called estrogen dominance, and I'm going to leave that for now and explain it in depth a bit later on. When we add to those symptoms, because when we start to see weight gain is usually in our 50s, if we add weight gain to those symptoms, then we get into our late 50s to our early 60s and deeper in and further on into our 60s, then we start to see things like osteoporosis, all the bone diseases, heart disease, should have an E at the end, sorry about that, I just realized, heart disease, arthritis and diabetes, and these are things we want to avoid. So the question is, how do we do that when we're still young enough to do them, and how do we do that even when we're in our 60s? Because we don't want to say, okay, listen, I didn't do anything about it, it's too late now, I can't possibly change anything. So it's very important to if we haven't spotted the signs early on, then when we do get to our 60s and we start to see symptoms of these syndromes or these illnesses, is to say, okay, what can we do about it now? Okay, I spoke before about hormone release. If our hormones aren't released the right amount at the right time of day. So I'll just explain very quickly about something called the circadian rhythm. I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but it's a 24-hour hormonal release cycle whereby our hormones are released. Each hormone is released in turn at specific times of day. And this diagram, sorry, no. This diagram only shows you a few of the hormones, those that we're talking about. So if we're talking about,
Sorry, can I just interrupt you for 1 second, Karen? Can you all please put yourselves on mute until Karen has finished her presentation? There's a bit of background noise and it'll affect the recording. So please, everybody can put yourself on mute. Thank you.
Okay, I'll go down to midnight. It's at the bottom of the screen. It says midnight, and then at 2 a.m. is deepest sleep. Okay, so at this time of deepest sleep, it's the time that there are two gut hormones which are released during the night, leptin and ghrelin, they're called, and they're released to the brain between 1 and 3 a.m. And that's the time of our deepest sleep, really.
Where'd you go?
Sorry? Someone say something? No. So that's the time of our deepest sleep. Now, if we are not in our deepest sleep at that time, okay, then our brain doesn't get the messages that we are full or hungry. Now, the fact that if we're full, there doesn't seem to be a problem in the world of plenty that we live in. Whenever we see food, we put it in our mouth. So we're not going to have a problem with hunger, okay? But what we're not getting during the day is the message to our brain that we're full. And that's why if we don't sleep at night, one of the things that happens is that we gain weight. Okay, so we have to have a good nighttime routine, which lets us sleep, especially during those hours. But even, we need 7 hours sleep a night in order to make sure that there are other, I'm just using as an example, the leptin and ghrelin to show you what the connection is between the release of those hormones to the brain between 1 and 3 or 1 and 4 a.m. and weight gain. Okay, so if we're not sleeping well and we're waking up at 3 a.m. and we're switching on our phones and we're switching on our screens, or we're going and we're eating something, we're not letting the body recover from the day like it needs to, and we're not allowing for the full amount of the two gut hormones, the hunger and the fullness hormone, the satiety hormone, to be released to the brain. And therefore, during the day, we won't get the message that we're full. Sometimes I can't fill up. And I think it just must be I'm tired, I need more energy, but really I'm tired because I didn't sleep well. So that's just an example of the hormones needing to be released at the right amount and the right time of day. And the whole hormonal cycle works on something called the circadian rhythm. And it's throughout the day. It's also when we're awake. So as you can see at 7:30 a.m., melatonin, which is one of our sleep hormones, the secretion stops at 7:30 a.m. So we're supposed to be awake after that. You can see at 10 a.m. is our highest alertness. So there are women, for example, I hear a lot of people going to yoga classes in the morning and Pilates classes in the morning, but really we're at our greatest alertness. What we need to do is raise our cortisol at 10 a.m. or in the mornings and bring down our level of melatonin. because we want energy for the day. And at night, when we want to raise our sleep hormones, we want to increase their secretion. That's when we should be doing the stretching, the yoga, the Pilates, and they're very important, but not in the morning, especially if we're not sleeping. If women aren't sleeping, they need to look at the exercise that they're doing and schedule it accordingly. Okay, so that's one of the tips I can give you about exercise, and we'll talk about exercise prescription later on. But as you can see, the highest alertness needs to be the time that we are the most active so that we have energy for the day. Our cortisol is our get up and go hormone. So we want to use it to get up and go and not to lie down on the floor and do yoga, Pilates, and stretching. Those are two examples of what happens. And as you can see, the hormones are released throughout the day. Okay, just staying on the subject of hormones. Hormones, as I said before, I gave an example before, and the example was of cortisol and melatonin. When melatonin here, that's one of them here. They work off each other. They're like on a scale. If one is high, the other one is automatically low. So if cortisol is high in the morning, melatonin is automatically low. And at night, we want to raise the melatonin. We want to do more relaxing exercises or relaxing activities so that our cortisol levels will drop and we won't be full of energy at 10 o'clock at night, and our melatonin will be high. So that's why I put them opposite each other. The same as with estrogen, and the FSH is the follicle stimulating hormone, and the LH is the luteinizing hormone, and they are growth hormones. They are attached also to estrogen and progesterone, but when estrogen is high, those two hormones are low. And the other way around, leptin and ghrelin are the two, if you go down on the left-hand side, leptin and ghrelin are the two hunger and satiety hormones, and they work opposite insulin. So when insulin is high, they are low, and the other way around. And the insulin also works opposite quite a few hormones, also works opposite glucagon, which means that when one is high, the glucagon, the sugar in our blood, is low. Means that insulin is working. It's putting the sugar into the muscles. Okay, so here, 1 minute, just want to move this and see what I wrote. Okay, so just about, if we're talking about weight gain during menopause, which seems to be a big concern for many women, we cannot treat weight gain without taking a life course approach. If you think about anything to do with weight, or even our, what happened to that picture? Sorry, and even our here we go. Our food, our relationship with food is emotional. We all have an emotional relationship with food, and therefore, to go on a diet, to put yourself in a straitjacket and say, okay, from now on, I'm not eating chocolate, I'm not eating cake, I'm not eating cookies, I'm not doing any of that. We usually don't last, really. And one of the reasons is because that's a very tactical approach. It's very well measured out. If you eat X calories and you burn this energy, then you lose weight. And theoretically it works. But because we're emotionally attached to food, we have to give it, in order to treat that obsession with food and need to eat all the time, we have to treat it with an emotional answer and not an emotional approach and not a tactical approach. One of the things that helps us to lose weight, as I spoke before about, is sleep. If we sleep and our hormones are released on time during the night, then we will be able to control. It will be easier for us to control our weight and to control our eating. Another one is stress. I always say to women, if you are too stressed and you are not sleeping, you can't exercise in the same way. And what we do is, when I see women who come to me and they are totally stressed about a million things, and I really understand them, being of their age and their stage of life, I usually, once I just went for a walk with a client and she left feeling so much better because she wasn't in a stage. Everything was tight. Her muscles were tight, her joints were tight. She wasn't at a stage that she could exercise. So I pull my women back from exercise until I know that they are ready and that they are calm and that they are well rested and that they are as unstressed as possible. We all have stresses, but And only then can I add exercise stress to their lives. Okay, I'm looking to de-stress them by exercising. And it's a stress in itself, but if you can't add stress to stress. Okay, many women say that they need to exercise because it de-stresses them, but really they're stressed in the first place. They need to first de-stress and then exercise. Social interaction, I don't know where the picture's gone, but social interaction also, it helps us. If we're calm, if we have good feedback, positive feedback from other people, we'll lose weight much easier. We won't feel that we're isolated. We'll feel that people care about us, that people want to see us. It will help make us feel better. So social interaction is also really important. Of course, exercise is important, which is why it's here, but only the right type of exercise at the right type of day for you. Exercise that's good for you. And we'll talk about how to decide which exercise is good for you. And of course, nutrition. So this is a picture of the Mediterranean diet. The Mediterranean diet is the diet which is the most recommended, especially for menopausal women, but really for everyone. It includes citrus, it includes protein, it includes grains, fruits, vegetables, animal products, and also beans, and also natural protein. Okay, if we're talking about daily nutrition, the 4 big ones, okay, are citrus fruits. Try and get some citrus into your body every day. Amounts, half an orange, a whole orange, squeeze some lemon juice into your water, wherever you can, put it on your salad, fresh lemon juice, wherever you can. The reason is because it cleanses your liver, and a cleaner liver means healthier arteries, healthier blood, and better working kidneys, and your organs work much better. So really, and the only one here is red grapefruit, which if your doctor tells you to stay away from it because it can be harmful to people who have kidney issues and kidney illnesses, that's the only one I'd say to be careful of. But if you don't, then for sure you can have it. What I do is I squeeze some half a lemon, a fresh lemon, into my warm water every morning before I have coffee after that, of course. But I squeeze it into my warm water, and I have a glass of that every morning because it cleans my liver before I start loading my liver with all kinds of other foods. So if you want to take a tip, that would be a great one. The other one is olive oil. So we want it's good quality olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, EVU, extra virgin olive oil every day. You should be having between 20 to 30 milliliters a day. Okay, of olive oil. Make sure it's a good quality one. It's good for your cardiovascular system. It's good for your joints. It's good for gut health. So put it on your salads, and into your soups maybe, and your dressings. If you can make sure that you get between 20 to 30 milliliters of extra virgin olive oil a day, it will improve your health. Beans and legumes are really a fantastic source of fiber and of protein. Soups, salads, all kinds of dishes. They're really very, very beneficial to our health. And also fruits and vegetables. We need to be getting between 8 to 10 servings of fruit and vegetables every day. All different colors, vary as much as you can. Okay. Okay. So estrogen dominance. Estrogen dominance is, I don't know how much you know about the hormones of what happens to them during menopause. I'll just go to the next slide because I think it shows a graph. 1 second. Sorry. No, I'm looking for the graph. 1 second. Here. Okay. So even though we all feel very young during menopause, our body is biologically aging, and there are hormonal fluctuations. Not very clear this, but I'll just try and show you what's going on. So estrogen is at the top there. Okay, estrogen is dropping. Oh, sorry. Estrogen is dropping. No, we've gone the wrong way. Estrogen is dropping. Okay, but it's not as low as progesterone. It's still higher than progesterone. Okay, and this one is the FSH, which is the follicular stimulating hormone, which is one of the growth hormones, and this is the luteinizing hormone. Now, as you can see, everything is slowly going down, but we get our mood swings really because it's not going down in a straight line. It's going up and down and up and down and up and down, and this happens. This one actually is gradually going down, but often, especially when we start in perimenopause, it kind of stays high, but it goes up and down high, and then it starts to get a bit lower. But all the time, it's going down, and it's decreasing, and that's why we're feeling like it's very similar to how we feel during puberty, because we're happy, we're sad, we're laughing, we're crying, we're slamming the door, then we're hugging our parents. We're all over the place. And it's very unsettling and unnerving. And even more so, I think, for menopausal women, because we're used to being in control of our lives. It's not that we're 13 or 14-year-old girls where we never really had control over anything, and we just did what everyone told, what our parents told, or adults tell us what to do. Here, we're professionals, we run businesses, we run homes, and suddenly we're like, we don't even know what to do with our bodies anymore, and our mood swings we don't understand, and we don't feel as competent as we did when we were in our 20s, 30s, and 40s. So this is why it's happening, because not only are our hormones lowering or decreasing in volume, they are going up and down and up and down. So it's not smooth. So everything that we've been feeling is totally justified when we look at hormonal fluctuations during menopause. I'll go back because I came forward before, and I want to go back. Second. Okay. So estrogen dominance, as you saw, the estrogen was on top all the time. Okay. Now, even though estrogen is going down, it was the highest hormone. Even though estrogen is going down, is decreasing, we get a lot of estrogen from different places, and that is problematic because it goes against the natural cycle, the natural cause of things that are supposed to happen. The natural events or physiological events that are happening, process that's happening, is that the estrogen is decreasing. But when we have a poor diet, processed foods, they have a lot of estrogen in them. Obesity or overweight, women who are overweight or obese, they fat cells, especially in the breasts and in the stomach and on the hips, they carry estrogen. And so the estrogen are trapped within the fat cell. So suddenly we're having this rise in estrogen. And when it's supposed to be decreasing, the natural life event is that it's decreasing, but really we're getting more and more because of our lifestyle. Okay, heavy metal accumulation are if we have lead or mercury or any in our lives, then we don't realize what we're breathing in. And another thing is plastic bottles. They have a lot of the material in them. It gives us estrogen, and it gives us all kinds of matter that and heavy metal matter that we mercury, for example, that we don't need. So this is really, really problematic. Okay, signs of estrogen dominance. Signs of estrogen dominance, and I'll talk about all of these for some reason. I don't know why. I can't see the pictures, but I'll go through them because I've got the titles here. So we're talking about if you get headaches, if you have additional breast fat and belly fat, bloating, candida overgrowth, that's related to gut health, infertility, which is something which isn't relevant during menopause, but earlier on in life, mood swings, anxiety, acne. They say specifically on the chin and on the body, chronic fatigue and thinning hair. All of those things are signs of estrogen dominance. Another thing that provides estrogen or has estrogen in it are cleaning materials and beauty materials. If we have organic, if we use organic rather than all the ones that we see in the supermarket, which are, I know, a lot cheaper, but they're not healthy for us, then we might start to feel a bit better. We don't realize where all this estrogen is coming from. Okay, so what can we do about estrogen dominance? We can cut down on alcohol, plastic bottles, hard cheese, too many dairy products, yogurt, red meat, chicken, eggs, butter, okay? And we can increase all of these are included in the Mediterranean diet. So protein and citrus and fruits and vegetables and avocado and olive oil and olives, whole grains, all of those, if we can increase them, then we will naturally cut down on the amount of estrogen that we have in our bodies, especially if we are obese or overweight. Okay, we should add natural proteins to our diets, like soy sauce, tofu, beans, legumes. Exercise also helps us to lower estrogen dominance. And here is something which talks about relaxation, music, hobbies, meditation, therapy, motivation, travel, enjoying life, basically. Anything that you have that makes you happy and releases happy hormones or happy feeling will help you with estrogen dominance. Okay. So when we talk about increased fat cell storage, so there are different types of fats. There's subcutaneous fat, which is the layer on the front of the stomach, at the very front of the stomach here. Okay, we have the abdominal muscles in the middle, and visceral fat. So subcutaneous fat is less dangerous. It isn't hormonally active. Visceral fat, which is in the deeper stomach and sits in between our organs, that's much more dangerous for us, and we want to try as much as possible to cut the amount down. Visceral fat increases the risk of cardiovascular diseases, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, and results in metabolic syndrome. And that one of the risks of the red lights, if you like, of metabolic syndrome is if you measure your waist and you are over 84 centimeters, then you have to start cutting down your fat intake and eating healthier foods like the ones that I mentioned before. The waist circumference is a red line. Okay, so on that same note, your body shape does affect your menopause symptoms. Women who have a lot of breast fat, a lot of belly fat and hip fat, they are at high risk. And then, of course, if they're suffering from these symptoms, then they need to take some steps in order to reduce their fat intake and the fat percentage on their bodies and where it sits. Okay, so things we can do. Okay, we're talking here about lifestyle solutions. Okay, so cut out smoking. Smokers should limit salt intake, limit alcohol, improve sleep quality, reduce stress levels, which is a big one because it's very hard to do. And we'll talk about ways that we can do that, and increase your aerobic activity. That means aerobics is anything ranging from running, cycling, swimming, fast walking, or walking or fast walking, but fast for you, which means going over your rate that you can speak. Okay, if you have to go for a walk and you're not used to walking fast and you go with a friend, then really take some time and say, okay, for the next 2 minutes, we're going to walk faster and we're not going to speak. And then we're going to calm down again, we're going to have a chat, and then we're going to take another 2 minutes. And that's the way to increase your aerobic ability, if your aerobic ability and aerobic activity, which is so important in health in older women. Okay, vitamin D. So the first thing that I would advise people to do is to get tested. It's really very important to test for vitamin D, so that if you know where you are, you can actually do something about it. Vitamin D helps us to absorb calcium, but if we don't have vitamin D, then the calcium won't be absorbed into our bodies. And vitamin D and calcium together equals osteoporosis prevention. So it's really, really vital for strong bones. We should be out in the sun. If it's in the morning, what I do is I go out in the sun for like 20 minutes in the morning, and I get my sun then. And then the rest of the day, I'm usually indoors in this hot weather. But before it starts to get too warm, even at 7 a.m., 8 a.m. at a push, vitamin D is absorbed through our skin. The problem is our skin is aging, so we don't absorb it as well as we used to. And that's why we need to get our vitamin D levels tested, because if we know where we stand, then we know if we need to take supplements or if we have to do other things in order to improve our vitamin D levels. Okay, so here I've written facts about vitamin D. So we should know that it's stored in fat cells and carried by fat. So if that's the case in obese and overweight women, it's not available for muscle contraction. And we do need vitamin D, especially if we're exercising, to help our muscles to contract. And it works together with calcium in order to strengthen our bones and for muscle contraction. And if we are overweight, then we're less likely to have it. It's less likely to be available because it will be inside the fat cells. So checking our vitamin D levels is vital. And if we suffer from things like sore or restless legs, as we spoke about before, and feet is included in that, anxiety, poor sleep, sore joints, and low energy, it's all connected. We should get our vitamin D levels checked, and some doctors don't like to check them. I think it is on the Coupot. I think that they do include them now, but there was a stage where they weren't included. You had to ask for it. So if it's not included, then please ask for it, because it's vital to your health. The other thing is that women who are training they're doing some women are doing heavy weight training, plus they're on a high protein diet, but really they don't have the vitamin D, the optimal levels of vitamin D in order for their muscles to recover from the weight training that they're doing. And in order to process the high protein that they're eating. So vitamin D is the basis for starting before you start weight training, before you start adding to your protein. Please check your vitamin D levels. Okay, they can also cause you to spiral down into fibromyalgia. Which is so they're crucial. So please try, please go and get them tested if you don't know where you stand with vitamin D. Low vitamin D absorption can cause gut health problems, and it's also key to low calcium absorption, because you need vitamin D levels to be optimal in order for your calcium intake to be optimal as well, which contributes to muscle recovery after exercise or just after a day of being active, physically active. Okay, we'll talk now about some symptoms. So mood swings. Sorry about this. On what could help. So I said I'm not going to speak about HRT, and I'm not, but if you are suffering from serious or extreme mood swings, please see your doctor or your health specialist and talk about hormones. Maybe you need to be tested. Maybe there are definitely ways of controlling your mood swings by your lifestyle. Therapy could be CBT, which is
It's cognitive behavior
Cognitive
therapy.
behavioral therapy, sorry,
Right.
which can also help with mood swings. A healthy diet, avoid alcohol, stress management, meditation, sleep quality. We've spoken about all these things, and what's interesting is that the same issues come up all the time, in terms of them being the answer to what the solution to our symptoms. Okay, we've seen these before, and we're going to see them again, in all different. So here's similar. If we have hot flushes, so light clothing, first of all, helps. A cool bedroom before when we go to bed at night. Stress reduction, regular exercise, healthy weight. These things come up all the time. We should avoid spicy food because they heat up our blood. Caffeine, hot drinks, smoking, and alcohol. These are things we've spoken about before. Okay, sore joints. So, and frozen shoulder comes into this. So the unhealthy gut is directly connected to sore joints. Okay, because the vitamin, if we're not getting the vitamins and minerals that we need into our gut and into our blood, then our bones are not getting the food that they need, the nutrients that they need, and they will start to hurt us. Okay, lack of exercise also causes sore joints because the joints need to be oiled, and then if they're not being used, then they're going to get sore because they're going to just get stuck. Okay, the other thing is that if joints are, if we say, because it's in this picture, I'll talk about knee pain. Often we find that if we have a problem with our knees, the answer is physiotherapy or exercises, knee exercises, leg exercises to strengthen the muscles that hold the joint. And if we strengthen, often we can't change what's going on in the joint. We can't change that, but what we can do is strengthen the muscles that hold the joint, and to the point that we'll either feel less pain or that the pain will go away. But really, the joint has stayed the same. The build of the joint and the whole, everything that's going on has stayed the same. It's just that the muscles are stronger, and so we don't feel the pain. So that's important. That lack of exercise can actually lead to sore joints because the muscles are not strong enough to hold them. And they're not getting the movement. Joints are made to move. Our fingers, our knees, our shoulders, our elbows, everything is meant to move our joints. And if they're not getting that movement, then they're going to react. Chronic stress, it makes the cortisol levels high, which affects all the other hormones, including those which are connected to our bones, to our osteo system. Infections as well. Often a joint infection will be is connected to aging, to inflammation. So if we can lower inflammation by exercising, by eating healthy, by stress management, by sleeping well, it affects everything. Or everything I'm saying is connected. Toxin exposure, we were talking about before. We're talking about estrogen. So if we're buying health products which have estrogen in them, or toxins in them, or some kind of metals in them, and also cleaning materials that have these materials in them, these fluids in them, or these ingredients, then it will affect also our joints because it affects our blood. Which will then affect our bones and affect our joints. Obesity will clearly affect our joints because we're not because we're putting too much weight on them. And poor sleep, of course, if we're tired, then we can't move properly, and our bodies can't move properly, and we start to feel achy. And we need to move in order to get our joint, to keep our joints healthy. Tobacco exposure is another type of poison for joints. So all of these things are relevant. Okay, this we did already. Why am I here again? 1 second. Sorry. taking me back instead of forwards. Okay. Okay, exercise prescription. All right. So as I said before, when I introduced myself, I said that I'm also a trainer. And if women are not sleeping, I pull them back from exercise, or I pull them back from exercise intensity and exercise volume. I had somebody who came to me the other day and she said, I haven't slept all night. I just haven't slept all night. And it happens very, very often that women don't sleep, especially because of the sirens going off or the stress that was going on around it. And we did, well, once I took a woman for a walk and that was great. And once, and what I do often is I say, okay, lie down, just lie down, because that's what we're going to do now. We're going to do strength exercises. You're going to build your muscles, but we're going to do everything on the floor, and we're going to do it to slow music, and we're going to switch off the lights, and I calm them down. Okay. I cannot push someone on a high intensity workout on no sleep, because then they're going to slip into overtraining syndrome, which means they're going to be exhausted and they're going to gain weight and they're going to get inflammation and their joints are going to hurt them. And it's just it's a vicious cycle. So pulling them back from exercise because of lack of sleep is really what they need more than to exercise. It's much more important. Not sleeping is a sign of inflammation. What does that mean? It means that, first of all, cortisol must be high. Okay. And it means that we can't relax well enough. So that's the cause that inflammation has inside our bodies and in our organs. They're not working properly. So one thing that causes inflammation is exercise stress. Exercise stress is a positive thing, but it also causes inflammation when you exercise when it's not what you need to be doing. Okay. So, and then over time, inflammation causes damage to our arteries, organs, and joints. So it really starts with sleep. Sleep and stress. The number one is sleep, or they're the same as each other. Okay, we really need to work in order to be healthy for the rest of our lives. We really need to work on sleeping long and long enough and sleeping well. And de-stressing as much, meet your friends as much as you can. Have a girls' night out as much as you can. Go out with your partner or just have a relaxing time at home. Do things for you.
Also important is join Steel Sisters and become part of us and join us in our meetings.
Yeah.
Because that is very important part of it.
So now I'm talking about metabolic health. So we spoke about heavy women and heavy women who lift weights. So if heavy women start to lift weights, they are not going to get slimmer. They need to be moving more and focusing on aerobic activity, like walking or like cycling or cycling in a gym if they don't feel safe on the bike, or swimming. Swimming also lowers it works on your it clears your lymphatic system. So swimming is excellent. If you can get in the pool, it really, really helps. The thing about heavier women, as we said, is that they carry a lot of estrogen in the fat cells, and that estrogen is not available to help muscle recover. So they get sore. And also they're going to need, if we're working out and lifting heavy weights, we're going to need a lot of protein. And the protein overload can cause cardiovascular disease, blood vessel disorders, liver and kidney issues, and seizures. So really, everybody's on this protein fix. Everybody says, just have more protein, but it's not necessarily true, especially for larger women, especially for women who are not doing high intensity workouts. So really, protein isn't something that we should take into our own hands, but we should go to a registered dietitian or nutritionist or a healthcare provider and understand how much protein we should be having. Okay, that's really important. Okay, excess protein, it converts to excess energy and storage in fat cells, as well as places stress on an already overburdened liver. which is another thing that proves my point about protein. And insufficient protein intake contributes to muscle breakdown, which is what we're trying to avoid. So not too much and not too little. Okay. Okay. Protein, eating protein plus weight resistance training builds muscle. So it's important to eat the right amount, and it's important to do the right amount of resistance training, but not too much of either. Okay, which is why professionals are really important. And just to go to the gym and say, okay, I'm eating protein, I'm going to do this crazy workout and then I'm going to eat loads of protein afterwards. It's not clever. It really should be consulting with people in the field who know what they're doing. Okay. If you're doing a lot of heavy weight training, then you need to be eating enough protein that allows your, well, I've said this just now, that allows your muscles to recover, build, and grow. But if you aren't sleeping, then you're not going to get the muscle turnover necessary, because that happens at night with the release of the growth hormone. So if we're not sleeping, as I went back to the circadian rhythm screen, if we're not sleeping and we're working out, we're not going to be able to build any muscle. We're just going to get weaker because our muscles haven't recovered because we haven't been sleeping. So the hormones haven't been released. Second. Okay. Exercise. Okay. Aerobic exercise becomes much more important and much more relevant during postmenopause than lifting weights, than anaerobic exercise. Our muscles are aging, our muscles and our organs are aging during menopause, and we're losing fibers, which are called the 2B power fibers inside our muscles, and they're changing as we get older in a natural physiological process to type 1 fibers, and type 1 fibers are much more endurance focused, which means that running, walking, swimming, cycling, anything that's endurance that you have to keep up with, that it's the same movement again and again and again at a good pace. That's the muscles, our muscles as we age, they need more of that than they do of heavy weight training. According to the American Heart Association, the guidelines are that 150 minutes of moderate aerobic activity per week. So 150 minutes is 2.5 hours. Is 2.5 hours, and you can break that up. And it's been shown, it's been proven also that it doesn't have to be an hour, another hour, and half an hour, or half an hour at a time. It can be even 10 minutes of walking is counted in that 150 minutes. So if you can build into your life walking up the steps or down the steps, or walking to the bus or walking to the shops, all of that is included in your 150 minutes a week. It's not that, well, it's only around the corner, I'll take the car because it's anyway, I'm not exercising now. You can fit it in. Which is amazing, and that's good to know. Aerobic exercise during menopause is the best way of preventing heart disease as women move into the menopause transition. And it also should be a staple in your exercise routine, since middle-aged women are at higher risk of cardiovascular disease and diabetes, and aerobic exercise protects the heart. Increases lung capacity, enabling us to walk faster, climb stronger, and move more freely as we age. So if you have a week where you, I don't know anyone's schedules, but let's say that you can exercise 5 times a week. Let's say you can exercise 5 times a week. So 3 times, the preference should be to aerobic at the menopause / postmenopausal age. And I'm not talking about perimenopause now. I'm talking about menopause and postmenopause. The preference should be 3 times a week aerobic and twice a week muscle building. Okay, so it's 3 and 2. If you have 3 times a week, so twice aerobic, once muscle building. Although we should have 2 sessions of muscle building a week. But around that, put in the aerobic, even if it's a small walk here or a walk to the shops there. Okay, really important. Okay, so the question we need to be asking ourselves is, what kind of exercise do you still want to be doing in 5 to 10 years' time? I think that, when I When I think about what I want to be doing when I'm older, I'd love to consider hiking. I love hiking. I just haven't had the time for it, raising a family and working full time and everything. But if it's when we go on holidays, we do a lot of hiking, and I'd love to think that in 5 to 10 years' time, or even more, I'd like still to be hiking and hiking well. So walking and moving your legs and keeping your hips and your knees healthy, and also your cardiovascular, because you want to keep up a good pace, is really important if that's what you want to be doing as you grow older. Also, another thing we know about aerobic exercise, and we see it as we get older, is that if we don't keep it up, then it will be much harder to start again. So I know that when I go away, or I have like a week's break, to get back to it, even after 1 week, is much harder than it used to be. I used to pick up where I left off, and I can't anymore. And one of the things we should be looking at, in terms of, first of all, with exercise, we should be looking at doing things that we enjoy, because if we don't enjoy them, we won't stick to them. And one of the things that we could be looking at is in terms of seeing how we're doing with that, with exercise, if we're doing the right thing for us, is how we feel the next day. Recovery is a major part of exercise. It's a major part of measuring your fitness ability. So if you recover well, it means you're exercising in the right way for your body. If you're exhausted the next day and you can't move, or even 2 days later you can't move, maybe you've overdone it. Maybe you should cut back a bit, build it up, get back to where go take a step back. So the recovery is really is a major factor in our exercise routine. We did want to talk about pelvic floor. I know I've given you a lot of information. I'll tell you one thing. Before we get to pelvic floor, I'll just tell you that if you have taken one, and I should have said this, usually I say this at the beginning of my workshops, if you take one tip or make one change that I've mentioned in this presentation, and you stick with it, you will be healthier. So if you get your vitamin D levels tested, and you plan your exercise or your around that result, or if you introduce citrus into your daily nutrition, or if you eat more fish, or if you do a bit more exercise, or if you pull back because you're not sleeping and you're too stressed, one thing, if you take one thing, one tip or one idea, and you stick with it, you will be healthier. So that's what I hope that I've been able to give you. I just put in, and I can send some exercises, pelvic floor exercises. We do feel, because I haven't touched on that at all, we do feel as we get older, first of all, we have the urine incontinence, where we need, if we jump, we need the bathroom straight away. So it's very, very hard for many women, especially I see that when I'm training, for them to jump. So we do it differently. We jump on one leg and not on both legs, etc. There are ways of getting around that. But in terms of tightening those muscles, if you put a small ball or a medium-sized ball in between your knees and you squeeze the knees together, you will feel your pelvic floor muscles immediately contracting. And one of the ways I will send to the group maybe 10 exercises, or I don't know how many, or a few key exercises, which will help you even to do at home, even while you're brushing your teeth or you're watching television, and you'll feel better, and that you have much stronger muscles, pelvic floor muscles. It's hard to talk about it because there's a whole subject within itself, pelvic floor health and strength. But I do want to send you some exercises, so I'm going to do that. I really hope this has been helpful, and I really hope that you have a healthy menopause, and that you enjoy your menopause, and that you embrace your age, and you embrace your life and your health. So thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Karen. This is really, really, very, very interesting, and you gave us a wealth of information. Let's talk about the questions that were asked, and we'll go right to the beginning. So Sandy mentioned about restless leg syndrome is also a symptom. Is that true? A restless
Yeah,
leg, yeah?
absolutely. I spoke
Okay,
about it earlier, and I'll send an article to the group.
okay.
And I
And
know
then,
that magnesium really helps for that.
Yes.
yeah, it also helps with
Magnesium is the
cramps.
answer for that, really.
And what about cramps in your legs and
The
fingers and
same,
hands?
magnesium.
Right, okay.
But we have to be careful. There are different types of magnesium. So you should take advice from your nutritionist or healthcare provider about which type of magnesium is the right type for you.
Yeah.
Okay, it's
Okay,
very important not
right,
to take the wrong one.
okay. Daniela said that she's interested to hear more about electric shock sensations.
Electric shock sensations. Okay, so that's also hormone based, as everything is. I don't know that much about it, I have to be honest, but I will look it up and I'll send. What's your specific question?
Daniela, do you want to unmute yourself and ask question? You're muted. Okay.
I went to my doctor over 10 years ago to say, I have these funny sensations like a faint electric shock going through my body, and no one could understand what I'm talking about. And sometimes I think it's connected to digestion.
And in 10 years, you haven't found anyone who understands you?
No, no one who's experienced it. And then I just saw it in your diagram, in your picture, the first picture you had. So maybe
I know it exists, but it's one of the things that I really don't know much about, but I'm going to find out about it and I'm going to let you know. But
Thank
I'm
you.
surprised. Who have you spoken to? Your doctor, your who?
A GP, but I gave up.
Shame.
I thought this was just something that only exists in me.
Oh, okay. So I'm definitely gonna react to that. Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you for bringing it up.
Yeah, very important point. Sandy made a comment that she said that you've got on the two pictures when we were talking about nutrition and everything like that, you had salmon on both for the good and for the bad. And
Okay.
so the question comes in, should we cut down on salmon or increase it?
Okay, so it depends. First of all, salmon is full of protein. It's also full of omega-3 and omega-6, which is great for bone health. It's vital for bone health. So it should be a staple. The amount of salmon that you have goes according to the amount of protein that you need, which depends on how much exercise you do and what's happening with your kidneys. So it's individual.
So it's good for kidneys or not good for kidneys?
Protein is good for kidneys, but not too much. So again, because this isn't a one-on-one, I can't.
I'd be very
Definitely
interested to have
need.
a one-on-one with you, please.
With pleasure.
Okay, right, okay. So Angie was brought up about, she says that if sleep issues arise, you're saying exercise should be in the evenings, but you mentioned about exercise being like yoga, Pilates,
Right.
that kind of exercise, that should be in the evenings. Am I correct?
You're correct if women aren't sleeping.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
If
Okay.
women are sleeping, do whatever you want.
But she said here if sleep issues arise, so therefore it must be that
If
there is a
sleep
problem.
issues arise, then look at the time that you exercise and the type of exercise that you do at that time of day. Ideally, we should be doing high energy exercises in the mornings, and low energy exercises in the evenings.
So yoga and
And the reason for that
Pilates.
is the cortisol melatonin connection, where we want cortisol to be high in the mornings so that it's our get up and go hormone in order to have energy for the rest of the day. But the rise in cortisol automatically lowers the melatonin. So we'll be less tired, even though people say after exercise, I'm so tired. It's also psychological. But if you do exercise properly in the like, in terms of high energy, or a lot of movement, then your cortisol will rise and it should stay with you for the next few hours and lower the melatonin. You don't want to be tired in the middle of the day.
But you
So,
do want to be tired at night. So that's when you should be.
and therefore, exercises like Pilates, which is slow, and it can be very relaxing. It's tough, but it can be relaxing. And yoga and stretching, that kind of thing is for the evening.
Okay.
Women who aren't sleeping should not be doing high energy exercises at night.
Yeah. Good
At
point.
night.
At night.
8 o'clock. Women go to HIIT classes at 8 p.m.
Okay,
9
I'm
p.m.
completely confused now. Let's say we talk about Pilates. Are you saying if you have sleeping problems, you should be doing the Pilates morning or evening?
Evening.
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 Pilates in the evening, yoga in the evening,
To wind
stretching
down,
exercise in the
To
evening.
wind down. To
As a
get you
wind
into
down.
the mood, to slow down in the evening, and in the morning wake up so you have the high
Right.
energy in the morning. If you don't have sleeping problems, there's no problem. You
Okay.
don't have to worry.
Okay.
It's ideal to do it that way. But if you've only got 8 p.m. and you work all day and you haven't got a morning and you want to do your high energy, it's fine as long as you're sleeping.
Okay. So if I get it from time to time, a sleeping issue, it's not every evening, every night. So I take that as some days are better than others. I mean, that's not
Right, it's true. If it's affecting you, if not sleeping is if you see that you're starting to gain weight, if not sleeping is affecting you, you're starting to have joint pain, or your muscles aren't recovering in the next 2-3 days. The next day it's okay if you have muscle pain, and also the day after that, but it shouldn't be that you can't function the day after a workout.
no.
If
Yeah.
you're finding that, then change the time of your workout. Your heavy workout, your energy workout, high energy workout should be in the mornings, ideally. But if you're sleeping, I'm not going to say don't, because that doesn't seem to be a problem. Okay.
Okay.
But again, it's not black and white, because there are some evenings, some nights you sleep well and some that you don't. But if you're finding that you're getting other symptoms like weight gain and mood swings and you're not recovering from your workouts, those are also signs that it's not good for you to be working out like that at that time of day.
Okay.
Not just the sleep or your
Yeah,
stress.
The other question Angie mentioned is if you said to reduce hard cheese and yogurt, but it's needed for calcium content.
That's right.
So there's a conflict here
again,
of it.
Right. So I said to reduce the hard cheese and the yogurt if you're estrogen dominant.
Okay. And how do you
and
test?
the signs were I gave the signs of estrogen dominance.
Right.
So if you're estrogen, again, I can send the information, but if you're estrogen dominant, you should be cutting out animal protein
Okay.
and going for natural protein.
Right. Okay. And then Mary Ann has asked you to please send the foot post that you spoke about.
Yes, of course. I will.
Okay. Okay.
Anyone else?
Anybody else got any questions that you want to open it up to now? And okay. All right. I think that it might be, Karen, that we may have to invite you back at some stage in the future
Such a pleasure.
to do a thing on pelvic floor and just
Yes.
focus on that as one subject on its own, because it obviously seems to be a huge one.
Okay.
But
Pleasure.
I hope that you all enjoyed it and that you really got something out of tonight. I think that, Karen, really you excelled yourself. You
Thank
went
you.
over and beyond, and it's really, really much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
I
Karen.
feel that I'll just say quickly. I feel that menopause is huge, and there are more and more women who are moving into it than ever before. We're living longer, but not necessarily longer healthier.
Yeah. And
it needs to be addressed,
I
and it is
agree.
being addressed. The everything I said is research based. Okay, it's not because I thought or I felt and I tried it out on myself. It's all research based. If you want to read the research papers, I can send you the sources. The research projects have been coming out now because they've taken 30 years to research. So we have so much information that's now being published that it's just at a very exciting time to be a menopausal woman, because we really have proof. If you know what I mean,
Yeah.
Proof
Yeah.
that we're not going mad.
Okay.
You're not going mad and you're not on your own. And that's why there's so much information, because they didn't have it 15, 20 years ago. There was HRT and that's what there was.
Right. So
Now
Karen,
we can help ourselves. So thank you.
before we
Be
go,
healthy.
can you please just without me having to look it up on my phone, give me your phone number in case somebody wants to contact you or
Okay.
be in touch with you?
0544
0544
99
99
4426.
4426.
Can you
Okay.
just repeat that, please?
I've got it on in chat.
0544.
I've got it
They
in
put it in
chat,
the chat.
Sandy. It's in the chat. Okay. 0544. You see it,
I'll say it
Sandy?
again.
Oh, wait,
I'll say
okay.
it again.
There you go. Yeah.
0544.
Yeah, you
Oh,
go,
you got it.
Sandy. Sandy, there it is. Put my spacing in the wrong place, but there you go. Okay.
I'm also available to do workshops around the country.
Yeah. And as I said at the beginning of the evening, Karen and I have a
There's
workshop
too many
planned.
numbers.
0544 99 4426.
I've
There's
added
one
an extra
plus 4
4.
extra.
Yeah.
0544 99 4426.
You've put an extra 4 in there. Okay, thank
Look
you.
forward to hearing from you.
Okay. All right. And as I said at the beginning, Karen and I have a workshop planned, and we will be putting up the date in the near future. Unfortunately, Iran's decided to send us some fireworks instead of us doing the workshop, so that's why it was delayed. But hopefully we will get back to normal now and be able to do it. As Karen said, and it's a very important thing, and this is one of the core things about Steel Sisters, is having that connection, that social connection is vital to our well-being. So please, ladies, try and make connections with one another, meet friends for coffee. Don't think, oh, I'm just wasting time. It's not. You are de-stressing. You are helping yourself to keep healthy, and it's very important. And of course, come and join Steel Sisters meetups when we have them. And on that happy note, thank you so much, everybody, for coming tonight. I really appreciate it. I think we got an incredible amount out of it, and we'll be having more of these in the near future. So have a good and safe weekend, a week at least, and keep well. All right? Take care, and we'll be speaking soon.